So it's my pleasure, we're going to start the evening. I'd like to introduce Vincent from Boy Scouts Troop Number 2 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vincent. And now I would like to introduce Reverend Oates, who will give us the invocation for tonight.
If I was in my church, I'd say, let the church say amen. Well, let us pray. Almighty God, we gather here today, this evening. We thank you for this opportunity to come together for this state of the city address. Almighty God, we welcome your presence and we seek your wisdom and guidance for the city of Glens Falls. We thank you for the work this administration has done, led by Mayor Collins. And we ask your blessings for the work that lies ahead. We further ask, O Lord, for blessings on all of the people of this great city of Glens Falls, New York. This prayer I pray in the name of Jesus Christ, my Lord. Amen. Amen.
Good evening, everybody. Such a great crowd here tonight. My name is Tricia Rogers, and I'm the President and CEO of the Adirondack Regional Chamber of Commerce. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the State of the City of Glens Falls. Tonight we gather to reflect on the progress, celebrate the successes, and look forward to the future with optimism and determination. This city is more than just a place on a map. It is a vibrant community built on the strength of its people. It is through commitment to partnership and collaboration that it continues to thrive. Whether you're a business owner, a community leader, a resident, each of you plays a role in shaping the city of Glens Falls' story. Over the past year, the city has witnessed the power of unity and the incredible things that can be achieved when a community works together. Looking ahead, there is opportunity to carry forward the spirit of positivity and partnership, navigate the challenges, seize the opportunities, and ensure that Glens Falls remains a beacon of progress and community pride. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the city of Glens Falls. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the Mayor of Glens Falls, Mr. Bill Collins.
It's a short walk, but my heart is pounding in my chest. Let's take a moment to thank Tricia, the Chamber of Commerce CEO, Tricia Rogers, for moderating tonight's event. Thank you, Tricia. I really do appreciate it. And before we begin, I need to thank Ed and Zach Moore and Tyler Herrick for allowing us to hold tonight's event in this Glens Falls landmark, the Queensberry Hotel. It's been my absolute honor to serve as the mayor of the great city of Glens Falls for the last 3 years. Glens Falls is my hometown. My roots are at least 3 generations deep. So to say that I was born here and raised here seems to be an understatement. Can't imagine being anywhere else. My dad's parents, Frank and Alice Collins, grew up at 46 Haskell Avenue, deep in the East End, where they were Irish, Catholic, Democrats, who served the city they loved. Frank Collins worked at the cement plant I was in the city's first ward county supervisor, and so was my grandmother Alice, one of the first women to serve as Warren County supervisor. My mom's parents, yes, thank you. My mom's parents, the Sullivans, lived at 203 South Street, deep in the 5th Ward. Fleur Sullivan was a tough Irish cop who served more than 30 years in the city of Glens Falls Police Department. I grew up at 281 Ridge, between the Schrammels and the Landrys. I played at both Jackson Heights and Eastfield, and I swam every summer in the Eastfield Pond. Anybody else remembering that the pond turned your blonde hair a strange shade of green because of all of the chlorine that they pumped into that pond? It's lucky that we lived through it. That's the 70s. My dad, Jack Collins, served on the County Board of Supervisors in the 4th Ward before I was born. He helped organize Bobby Kennedy's U.S. Senate campaign in '64 and was appointed to the Glens Falls Postmaster by President Lyndon Johnson. I gotta calm down. A position he held until his death in 1988. I grew up with Mayor Bob Cronin visiting my house almost on a weekly basis as my dad and Mayor Cronin would discuss Glens Falls issues, politics, and drink scotch. So I guess it's not a surprise that I would end up nearly 50 years later serving on the city's Board of Public Safety before my 8 years being on the Common Council. With all that, now 3 years later as your mayor, it still amazes me how much there is to learn about the city and how it operates. I learn something new every day, and I'm amazed at how far we've come. During the Great Recession of 2008, many communities like Glens Falls were in tough financial shape. At the time, Mayor Diamond weathered the difficulties while slowly rebuilding the city's finances, and Mayor Hall continued strengthening the city even through the pandemic. Over the decades, many of you here came to Glens Falls to live, work, and invest, starting to put down your own roots. Meanwhile, the city continued investing as finances allowed in our aging infrastructure. All of those investments together make Glens Falls a better, safer, more inviting place to live, raise a family, or invest in a new business. With cooperation and compromise, we made our city stronger and healthier. In my short time as mayor, our city has recovered from the pandemic and ramped up our investments with the groundbreaking of some of the DRI projects and the completion of others. We have a new arts system. We've watched our creative economy grow. We've seen a continued strong home sales environment. We have thriving restaurants and specialty retail that is found nowhere else in Warren County. I've always said, never bet against Glens Falls, but especially now, that would be a bad bet. Our city has patiently awaited decades to turn the corner. In fact, the efforts of every elected official in the last half a century, every staff member, every business owner, every homeowner, and everyone with ties to Glens Falls, they've been working on the city's resurgence. Well, my friends, the resurgence is here. We've turned the corner. Glens Falls has arrived. Let me say that again. Glens Falls has arrived. Glens Falls. It's always had the audacity to believe big and then forge that belief into reality. Like landing the Adirondack Red Wings. Can you imagine the boldness and the bravery, the grit needed to turn that idea into reality? That audacious spirit is what I call the Glens Falls difference. And it has led to this moment, our moment. So let's dig in, shall we? Our hard work has created a prosperity. It's breaking out all over the place. With the Unity ticket that I was part of when I was on the council, we kept focused on our work to help Glens Falls turn the corner. Mayor Dan Hall in 2017 news story noted the following about our Unity ticket. Everybody has their own initiatives. We work together. There's very little bickering or fighting. You know, we question each other, but we seem to come to consensus, so it's a good working group. Dan, I couldn't agree more. I was honored to be part of that Unity ticket. So now that we've turned the corner, our job as city leaders is to keep our eyes on the ball, to keep our momentum, and at the same time manage our growth in city spending while protecting what is ours. We kept our momentum going last year by creating a budget with a no property tax increase for 2025. I want to again thank publicly the Common Council members who worked together along with the department heads to get that budget approved and in place. That budget, without a tax increase, is well-deserved relief for our property owners. With taxes kept flat in 2025, the city budget maintains all essential services and is responsible to our residents and is fiscally sound. The good news of no property tax increase in 2025 is reinforced by the city's healthy fund balance or rainy day fund, which is growing thanks to the continued strong sales tax receipts and prudent city spending. In 2021, city sales tax revenue was up 16% higher than in 2020, the first year of our pandemic. In 2022, our sales tax revenue was up another 11%. In 2023, our sales tax revenue was up another 9.6%. And in 2024, city sales tax revenue was up another 5%. Let me sum this up. That's 41.6% sales tax growth in revenues over the last 4 years. Thank you to the dozens of restaurants that have come and are flourishing here. Thank you to the specialty shops and the boutiques. And thanks to the Cool Insuring Arena and the Civic Center Coalition for creating this momentum. Clearly, our economic activity continues to be robust. We need to work together and to do everything we can to encourage it. So therefore, I say, the state of our city is strong. I would have said it a second time if you hadn't clapped. As we look ahead, we renew our commitment to be careful with the public dollar, to spend only where necessary, and to continue to invest in our infrastructure and pay our employees a fair, livable wage. We must be actively working and preparing for our future, because this incredible growth will not continue indefinitely. Understanding this, and following the request of members of the Common Council, I created a financial planning committee to proactively address our collective financial future. The committee will work with Controller Mark Powers to develop a proactive process for longer-term planning. That process will include developing financial comparisons and benchmarking with similar communities and explore investments for the best use of our existing assets. So let's move on to our outreach and collaboration, both of which have been a focus of my administration and something I'm most proud of. And as I said at last year's event, the city is not an island. It cannot go it alone. The city on all levels has started or restarted investing in significant relationships and partnerships that may not have been tended to for a while. I'm committed to this path of cooperation. As I look around, and I haven't been looking much, I'm trying to keep my head down and not lose my place. As I look around, I see partners from municipalities, from the county and the state and private sector. Those significant relationships have been tended to and are no longer withering on the vine. They are bearing fruit. Yes, I just called many of you here fruit. Maybe grapes, a bunch of grapes. Comedy is a risk, there's no doubt about it. We continue collaborating with the Governor's Office, the Department of State, Empire State Development, and other agencies. All have a piece of our DRI projects, the water and sewer projects, or grant programs. Those relationships have been invaluable and for us to be able to move our projects forward. The Governor's Office has been an important partner and has always supported our efforts. She has been the gracious host for me personally at both the Governor's Mansion and this year's State Address. We've worked closely with the state's Homes and Community Renewal Division on our grant program to support home purchases and some rehabilitation for residents who need it. I continue working regularly with our Assembly member, Carrie Warner, and I thank her and Assembly Speaker Carl Hasty, who've earmarked $2 million towards the renovation of our Haviland's Grove Park. This update, yes. This update will increase our access to the Hudson River waterfront for everyone. This project will include fishing piers, kayak rentals, waterfront trails, and a new pavilion. The plans will be finalized sometime next year. I continue to work with Warren County Board of Supervisors Chairman Kevin Garrett and County Administrator John Tappan to find areas where we can share services and collaborate, like the CDTA merger, the largest consolidation of services in decades. Thank you, gentlemen, for working with me and by realizing that what is good for Glens Falls is good for Warren County and vice versa. Thank you. We've also grown our relationship with Warren County in other areas, including participation in 2 grant-funded studies by the County Planning Office, looking at pedestrian connectivity to the bike path, the county bike path, and developing a county comprehensive plan. The city resident, Ethan Gaddy, leads that office. Thank you, Ethan. Our police department is working hand in hand with the county sheriff, Jim LaFar, and his officers. They work together on local drug task force cases, and 2 of our officers are on the county's emergency response team. The sheriff's deputies assist anytime the city needs them. Thank you, Sheriff LaFar. Additionally, our tourism director, Amy Collins, has worked with Heather Bagshaw, the Warren County Tourism Director, to promote the city and county, including a coordinated ad layout in National Geographic's Traveler magazine. Their work presents the city and the county as worldwide destinations. We appreciate our renewed, improved relationship with Queensbury Supervisor John Straw, whose administration to finalize the property sale in our Tech Meadows Business Park to Crew Coffee for a new coffee roasting facility. We're also working to explore shared services and the plan to manage any watershed recreational use so long as it also protects and secures our water system. I'd like to note the passing of Harrison Freer, who believed in the collaboration between the city and the town was an important and worthwhile effort. His life was a blessing to us all, and his death is a significant loss for both of our communities. We're also working with Moreau Town Supervisor Jesse Fish and Moreau Councilman John Donahue on an updated sewage treatment needs and agreements. We have a new growing relationship with County Water and Soil Conservation District and its director Jim Lieberman to address long-term problem with runoff near our city cemetery and to manage and upgrade our city's tree canopy. I'd like to take a moment here and note the passing of Enid Mastriani. She was, as her obituary said, and I quote, 5 feet of fierce resistance, inequity, and injustice. Let me say that again, I'm sorry. 5 feet of fierce resistance to inequity and injustice. She was also a force to be reckoned with on the city's tree commission. We will miss her. We appreciate the work with the Glens Falls City School District and the Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council on the pedestrian circulation study of the middle and high school complex. Our work led to actionable steps on a grant that will improve safety this year. Through our partnership with AGFTC and participation in the federal grant program, we added the pedestrian bridges across the feeder canal at Murray and Water Streets. In the next round, we're planning to request the support for infrastructure improvements all along Western Avenue and for updates to our 1970s era traffic lights at 3 more intersections in downtown Glens Falls. Finally, a different kind of collaboration and partnership with you. The city provided $200,000 in ARPA money to the Civic Center Coalition to upgrade Heritage Hall to attract events, weddings, and other special celebrations. Ed Moore, Dan Burke, Robert Niemer, Elizabeth Miller, and many others collaborated and invested their time and effort into a building that was struggling year after year. We must be forever grateful to these captains of industry who saw the city's potential long before we ever turned the corner. 10 years ago, who would have thought about bringing the Civic Center, the Cool Insuring Arena, back to its original glory? In fact, with 14 sold-out hockey games last season and 9 so far this season, it may be even better today. Jeff Mead, wherever you are, if you can bring the Who back to perform the Tommy Opera, then one more amazing center. that concert nearly 30 years ago, my ears rang for almost 2 days. With all that work investing in these significant relationships, now bearing fruit, we might have enough of you grapes out there for some wine. A Glens Falls vintage, maybe 2025. Yeah, comedy's a risk. I'm still going. I'm not walking away from it. Many local business owners and landowners in the city have invested millions of their own company's dollars to rebuild, rework, and rehabilitate dozens of buildings throughout our city. Peter and Susan Hoffman, Elizabeth and Ben Miller, Ed and Zach Moore, and recently passed Mike Cadis and his family. All the investors in our future of Glens Falls all bet on Glens Falls to win. They were savvy and they realized that Glens Falls was preparing to turn the corner. They understood the difference between reminiscing and investing in and ensuring our shared history. They bet, we all won, and we are all better for it. It proves the adage that together we can do so much. And speaking of winning, congratulations to the Glens Falls Black Bears basketball team on their season so far, undefeated in 2023, now a 40 straight wins. After years of stop-and-go progress, the DRI is happening the way it was designed 8 years ago. When taking office, I accepted the responsibility to complete this transformative project. The ground is about to be broken on the last of the DRI's projects. 70 new affordable rental apartments are underway and will break ground next month. With the investment by the city, the state, and private financing, our downtown transformation projects totals $49 million. I've lived through the worst of South Street, the derelict buildings, the Madden Hotel, the empty OTB building and storefronts, the constant fights at Sippy's, Sandy's, and Hot Shots. And no, I wasn't at all of it. For those of us who lived through that, this transformation seems almost unbelievable. We have a full update for the community on the DRI in early March. Here's some dates for you. We've already posted it, but we'll continue to advertise it. In many other ways, we're moving forward by matching the city's priorities and needs with opportunities to solve them. It's where the American Rescue Plan Act enters the picture. Mayor Hall was informed in mid-21 that the federal government would provide the city with $12 million in COVID recovery funding, intended to help with the expected loss of revenue during the pandemic. The first of the funding was available near the end of 2021. When I arrived in the mayor's office, I asked our department heads to list critical, urgent, and important projects that, in their professional opinion, that needed to be addressed. The initial list almost knocked me over. 150 items costing more than $90 million, over 3 times the city's annual budget. It's clear to me that some long-term and very large projects covering water, sewer, recreation, facilities, infrastructure have been deferred for years to keep additional burdens from our taxpayers. But the project still needed to be done as funding would allow. And as the city went searching for grants and through the state and federal programs to support some of the most expensive projects on the list, we turned to our ARPA funding. Let's take a look at our ARPA investments. 5.1, nearly half the money, was spent on water sewer projects like Dix Avenue reconstruction and new sand filters for our city's water tanks and a remote camera system to check sewers and for blockages and other problems. A little more than $2 million on recreation upgrades, thanks to Councilwoman Palmer, Councilman Landry, and Councilman Clark. Not only did the athletic court upgrades, which are beautiful and were in long-term need, but we also repaired and opened our park restrooms, rebuilt our bleacher pad at East Field, and prepared the former tennis and swim club to become an environmental park with the help of the Crockwell's Pond Partnership. on technology upgrades, thanks to Councilman Lapham, Councilman Donahue, and Councilwoman Palmer, including cameras at our city parks and city hall, and and to update technology in our parking garage. Did you know that in 2022, when I took office, the city did not have any laptop computers. We're currently investing in refurbished desktops. We also had no Wi-Fi in City Hall for anyone. We now have both thanks to ARPA money. With a little more than $800,000 spent on our fire department needs, including repairs to the Broad Street fire roof and to replace the bay doors at both firehouses, and a new ambulance. $346,000 for police department needs, including body armor vests, replacement of 2 vehicles for detectives, and upgrades to the department's computer servers. A little more than $1.3 million that went towards the Heritage Hall project, but also a local variety of businesses that had development needs, and those were distributed through our city's agencies. $239,000 for business equipment needs for the offices of the clerk, the controller, and the city engineer. $1.3 million for our DPW through the replacement of the building's roof, a street sweeper, a garbage truck, snowplow equipment, and heavy-duty vehicle lift for our DPW garage. We must also take a moment and thank Warren County for collaborating with us for $172,000 from their ARPA money to help support our upgrades at Eastfield and Montcalm Street playgrounds. So all of those expensive projects were completed without directly affecting the taxpayer dollars. I want to thank the council for approving those expenditures as proposed without change. I also want to thank the controller, Mark Powers, our budget officer, Chip McTiernan, and the former controller, Suzanne Kasich, for managing this important project. I think that's all money well spent. Thank you. The city in 2024 continued to provide a full range of municipal services: police, fire, DPW, clerk's office, water and sewer service. Like most municipalities, the city has found hiring challenging, especially during and since the pandemic, and our police and fire departments especially. In 2023, the city police had 7 vacancies out of 18 positions. In 2024, the department was able to hire 4 new officers. That's a good thing, because they handled 13,708 calls of service. Thank you to the Glens Falls Police. The city fire department filled 7 vacancies in 2024 and are now at full staff. It's also a good thing, as they responded to nearly 3,600 calls for service, including 2,700 EMS calls, 233 fire alarms, and 43 actual fires. Glens Falls Police. I want to formally recognize our police, fire, and Department of Public Works, who last summer performed incredible work to protect public safety. On July 15th and 16th, a severe set of thunderstorms blew through the city, accompanied by 85-mile-an-hour winds. The first storm on July 15th took down 6 large trees, mostly in the city's 3rd ward, and all 3 departments worked to secure the scenes and clean up the debris. The next day, another storm front came through, taking down 29 more trees throughout our city. Power lines were down everywhere. Seeing the extent of the damage, I declared a state of emergency so that our police, fire, and DPW personnel could work safely. We closed 18 streets for a variety of reasons. Tree limbs, power lines flooded. It took DPW crews 4 straight days to clear the streets and remove the material, enough to fill 6 backyard swimming pools. I'm not only incredibly proud of their efficiency of their work, but also of our homeowners. In the heat that followed these storms, residents supported city employees with well wishes and cold drinks as they worked. This is true hometown USA in action. I want to thank Tom Gerard, are you here? Please rise. DPW Superintendent. Izzy Motor, Deputy Fire Chief, Jared Smith, our Police Chief. Gentlemen, please rise and be recognized. You all need to be recognized, and your staff. Please send that along for them. In 2024, the city spent nearly $3 million on paving work, paving and sidewalks. Just $1 million on the paving and $1.96 million on sidewalk work. We paved 20 streets, replaced or installed 1.8 miles of curbs, and more than a football field with sidewalks and aprons, not to mention 58 ADA compatible ramps. This funding comes from federal and state sources, not from city property taxes. The federal dollars include 80% of the project cost for the paving and sidewalks of our Webster Avenue project, and also the water and sewer upgrades and the traffic signal improvements there. Speaking of water and sewer, our treatment plant employees delivered 645 million gallons of drinking water to our residents and customers, and the wastewater plant cleaned nearly 1.5 billion gallons of wastewater, including the use of a new ultraviolet disinfection system purchased with ARPA funding. We removed hundreds of thousands of gallons of stormwater from the processing stream. The city's work to separate stormwater from the sewer lines at a cost of more than $30 million in the last 15 years is both environmentally friendly and saves wear and tear on our wastewater treatment plant. Our Building and Codes Department has been rebuilt from the ground up, and it's more efficient using technology purchased with ARPA funding. An important recent addition to the department is our new planning and zoning coordinator, who supports applicants and board members. In addition, Warren County Planning hosted training sessions for both new and seasoned planning and zoning board members to prepare them to manage our smart growth and to protect the city's character and the regulations as they allow. In addition, Warren County Planning hosted, Now let's turn to our future, shall we? If you can't already tell, I'm just a little enthusiastic about Glens Falls. I believe this is the best place to live, and it's one of the best times to live here. Councilman Bob Landry said something to me this past year that really stuck with me. He said, "Bill, I'm old and I'm living my future now." I thought, none of us are getting any younger, Bob. But it took me a moment to understand his deeper meaning. You see, his father and mine worked years to bring Glens Falls back to its former glory, but they didn't live long enough to see us turn the corner. Now that future is here. Our efforts, every day, every month, and every year, must keep Glens Falls moving forward toward the future we want, the future we envision for our children and our grandchildren. Every day, even small actions that we take will create possibilities or limitations that will have a direct effect on our future and theirs. For example, Mayor Diamond and Ed Bartholomew wrote a plan in 2016 envisioning a renewed South Street. All the members of the community ticket supported their vision. That idea turned into the DRI, and all that action taken over the last decade created the progress that we see on South Street today. That plan will be fully realized in 2026. That plan will be fully realized in 2026. I've lived here virtually my whole life, and I know that we never want to be another community. We are Glens Falls. We want Hometown USA to always be home. As new housing, new businesses, new sports teams, new music, and new eateries come here. But we also need to protect ourselves, our history, our progress against reckless growth. I'm not sure if former mayors would have believed that reckless growth was something the city would ever be worried about. There was a time when the city would have been begged for any significant development at all. Now, there are monthly planning board meetings where millions of dollars in projects are being discussed. That's on top of the millions that have already been invested. So as we turn the corner, we need to continue to honor our history and heritage as we prepare Glens Falls for a time where our children can live their future here. That means building on past efforts, focusing on both day-to-day and the long term to create our vision for living our future now. It starts with an understanding of where we came from. After learning that the city's application for a smart growth comprehensive plan was approved, I read all of the previous plans commissioned in the last 2 decades. There was 9 of them. I wanted to understand better from where we came. The last full plan in 1999 was never formally adopted, sitting on the shelf in the mayor's office. But many of the projects had been completed. So with the Smart Growth Planning Grant, the city has representatives from each ward and the planning and zoning boards, and has formed a steering committee that will guide the city contractor into developing a vision for a new City of Glens Falls. We're planning a community survey that our contractor EDR of Saratoga will coordinate next month, with public workshops to follow the survey, where everyone can say what they think the city needs or doesn't need. The essence of smart growth is a process to enhance our quality of life, promote accessible neighborhoods, include a compact mix of land uses that encourages a variety of housing for people of all incomes, backgrounds, ages, and abilities. Additionally, the city's grant contract for economic development regarding our Warren Street corridor that includes almost the entire First Ward has also been approved. The designation, when completed, will allow the city to provide developers relief from some of the high costs found in rehabilitating and redeveloping properties. Separately, the city asked Adirondack Glens Falls Transportation Council to perform updates to studies regarding the pedestrian movement around Big Cross, Jackson Heights, and Hague Wing Elementary Schools. We're asking for reports like those in the middle and high school study and a previous Kensington Road study. We've also asked AGFTC, at the behest of Councilman Landry, to review options for adding safe crossing space on Bay Road near our cemetery, where families are crossing to get to Jackson Heights. We've asked Aaron Frankenfeld. We want to thank Aaron Frankenfeld and Jack Mance for their help with these projects. We know that improvements and studies are essential to create safe environments for children in a growing community with increasing traffic. We know that we need to continue working to attract and support families, young adults, and building their roots here. The state has just designated Glens Falls a pro-housing community, which will help us develop housing for low and moderate income people. We agree with the governor's priority to increase affordable housing statewide, including in our city and Warren County. The city has been awarded 4 new grants, totaling $2.38 million just in 23 and 24 alone. One recurring grant awarded to the city supports low and moderate income residents with down payment assistance and closing costs to purchase a home. Our last grant assisted 10 buyers to get into city homes, and we're expecting this new one will help 15 more. My wife and I received the same grant. We received the same grant more than 25 years ago. I was working in human services. I've never made much money. We've been living in a 2-bedroom city apartment on Grove Avenue. Cousin Pat, are you here? She helped rent it to us. This grant helped us with a down payment on our Hunter Street home. I might still be renting instead of owning if not for programs like this. I mention this to give you a glimpse of what a low or moderate income person or family might look like. You're looking at one, your mayor and his family. Moving on to other new housing grants. One supports low-income city residents who need mobility ramps and other changes to help better access and stay in their homes. One more helps low-income eligible residents to bring their homes up to code. Another works with property owners to fund the conversion of vacant spaces into apartments. This grant also extends to Queensbury, Lake George, and Lake Luzerne. We'll be distributing information to the public on those grants over the next 2 months. Before we move on from the housing front, let's take a quick look at where housing projects have been completed in the last 2 decades and where there are approved plans for more. In the 14 years between 2007 and 2021, Here is where housing has been added to our downtown. The Mill, 14 Hudson, the Rogers Building on Warren Street, and Ordway Hall, which you might know better as Spot Coffee. If you've been around long enough, you know it as the old YMCA building. It's 253 units in all. And over the last 3 years, here are the number of projects completed, including new units on Park Street, the realized building on the corner of South and Glens Streets, for a total of 76 new units. And now, here are a number of units that are under construction or approved, and expected to be completed within the next 12 to 18 months. That's 294 more units here in Glens Falls. Our challenge is now clear. We must balance the need to increase the city's housing stock with the need to protect our city's character and hometown feel. Speaking of needs, I am announcing today the establishment of a task force to take the city's crazy, disjointed, amalgamated parking regulations and develop an actual parking plan that will pick up where my special projects committee left off. Yes, I'm a glutton for punishment. 5 mayoral administrations have identified parking as an issue. I've mentioned it in last year's city address, but there's been no agreement on how to best proceed. With the DRI nearing completion and continued interest in our developing downtown, the pressure will only increase. We need a plan that at the same time takes into account residents who want to park downtown, employers and employees who need parking, our visitors and residents who are coming downtown for an event, to shop, or eat dinner. This task force will need to set aside biases and compromise for the good of our city. The committee, when created, will include members of the BID, our Chamber of Commerce, Civic Center Coalition, and the city residents. And if you want to be involved, please email your interest or input to me at the mayor at City of Glens Falls. Related to parking, I'm preparing a resolution for our council to consider this Tuesday, to suspend the time limits on our Elm Street parking lot because of the DRI work, and until this task force can make recommendations on how to move forward. We really shouldn't be ticketing people who are trying to find a place to park. Additionally, we're working to create a community engagement task force that will support our city police department and our social worker, Darlene Haffner, to engage and assist those in need in our city park and our downtown area. It should also include not-for-profit partners as well as community and religious groups. Councilman Bob Landry has agreed to chair this task force, and Queensberry Hotel owner Ed Moore and Nate Etu, one of the Queensberry supervisors on the county board, have also agreed to participate. We're also applying for funding from the Opioid Settlement Fund at Warren County to get more direct service coordination to better engage those in need. If you want to be involved, also email your interest or your input to me at themayor@cityglensfalls.com. As mayor, I have one foot in today and one in tomorrow. I work on current issues that come from managing a $25 million annual budget with 170 full-time employees and 14 department heads, and dealing with all the day-to-day decisions that are incumbent in city operations, responding to constituent concerns, police, fire, water, sewer, DPW, the clerk's office, and the timely paying of our bills. But each day I also make time, as I must, to focus on our city's future. How will we operate? How do we grow economic development and sales tax to increase revenues? How do we ensure that there is fairness and opportunity for all? And how do we continue to protect what is ours? I believe that the city government's role in our future is simple but not easy. Our city government must continue to invest in the infrastructure. That requires us to continue to apply for every relevant grant, only use long-term bonding when absolutely necessary. The long-term financial planning, as I noted earlier, is an important new piece of our efforts. Second, our small city needs to continue to seek out programs and grants that will remove barriers for local home ownership, for infrastructure, for upgrades and repairs, for aging in place, for small businesses to be established and growing here in Glens Falls. It's clear that our city is stable and that our city has turned the corner. Our future currently looks bright. We have big city commerce, but continue to hold our small city values and our hometown charm. When we work together, we win, as Mayor Hall said back in 2017. We can thank each other for this progress and momentum. We need to continue to work together so Glens Falls moves forward in sustainable and intelligent ways, all with the collaboration and compromise that got us here. We need to do this so that we can all live now in the future that we've dreamed of. And so, then every road that leads to Glens Falls becomes the real Street of Dreams. My entire professional life has been spent in human services, and my work here as your mayor continues that, serving residents, serving local businesses, serving visitors, and marrying couples. But we can't provide or help the service if we don't know there's an issue. I don't have a lot of time to spend on social media, where I understand many issues are debated and commented on. And so I offer you, the people of our city, another option to provide and receive factual information. I encourage you, really plead with you, talk to me, or with a department head, or a staff member, if you have a concern or a problem that you think the city can help with. I'm not promising that we can help you solve every problem, but I promise we'll hear you out. And just maybe, we can help. Many of you here have already done just that. And if you're not happy with the answer you received, I hope you will at least have a better understanding of the situation and what we might be able to do together to address it. My door is always open, and though I've had my share of disagreements, including with some of you in this room, I always learn something new, and I always appreciate the discussion. If I can help, I will do everything at my disposal to assist you in any way I can. We know this year is an election year for the mayor and all the council seats. And because of the contentious atmosphere in our state and our country right now, I want to assure you that politics does not and will not affect our dedication to providing you with city services. There are no Republican streetlights. There are no Democratic sidewalks. There is no politics in maintaining or managing city water, sewer, fire, or police services. It's only when we understand, collaborate, and compromise that we can encourage growth and properly manage it. That we can increase tourism and sales tax dollars. That we can work with granting agencies to help support our needs. If you take anything from tonight, I hope it's this. Our prosperity has arrived. We have turned the corner, but we must keep our momentum going. We must continue our focus on our growing local economy by seeking out programs to make it easier to work, live, and play here in Glens Falls. We must continue voicing what's important to us. We must protect what is ours, our history, our community, our values, and our hometown USA. It's our moment. It's our responsibility. Let's meet the challenge together. Thank you for being here tonight. Thanks so much for caring so much about our city. Let's go, Glens Falls. Now the tough part, questions. Yep.
All right, we're on. Yes, okay. You touched on a lot today, Mayor Collins. Thank you so much. We just have a couple of things from the business community that, if you don't mind, if we ask. So this summer in particular, we have had a noticeable increase in the number of people who seem to be hanging around City Park all day long. Some residents, some of the business community have reached out to myself. I know Sheriff LaFar, I know the police department. So what is the city doing to support them, and what are we doing moving forward with this issue?
Sure. Well, the first thing you need to know is that we're there every day. And there are statistics that I'd be glad to send you. Anyone wants to send, a couple times here you've seen my email address. If you send that to me, I'd be glad to share with you all the arrests we've made, all the visits we've made, the 3 people that we found housing for. There is more, and across our country, I read one statistic just last week, I think, that said in 2024 across this country, 18% increase in homeless people and people in need. That's astounding. And as Glens Falls goes, so does the rest of the country. Or as the country goes, so does Glens Falls. So the number has risen. I've met with a number of business leaders, and I'll continue to meet with more. But that's why we put the task force together, because I want to bring everybody together. We're doing a ton, but it's not enough, and it's scaring people. I don't think we've seen this before, right? I think these people have been here. 25 years ago, I worked with at-risk youth here in Glens Falls through a grant that I got through Warren County. At that time, there were a couple flop houses where kids were going from one house to the other, and I couldn't believe that it existed. And there was nobody in the parks then. That problem still exists. Our services are full. We don't need to create any more, but we do need to coordinate, and I want to engage the people. And I think in Glens Falls, that's a place we can engage people more than ever because of our size. So that's the goal.
Thank you. We did touch on the housing question and some parking. So is there anything else you want to add on either of those topics before we move on to one other question?
No, regarding parking, right? I had meetings when I first became mayor. I'll never forget when I got on the council and Mayor Diamond told me how he stopped talking about parking when Maury Thompson wrote an article about the mayor had made an offhanded suggestion that he might charge for parking, and Mayor Diamond said he got more calls about that than ever before, and he just stopped. And I don't blame him. I know what it's like. I called people in naively, and I said, I think we have a parking problem. And I wasn't successful. I mean, I think there are people that have taken care of their parking issues by they have, their businesses and they own the place, and they don't necessarily think there's a huge problem. There is, and it's growing. And as the development takes place, it's going to get worse. And so we need to do something together, but we're also going to have to remember that we grew up in a place where we could pull up at any time and get in front of our restaurant that was here. Right? We could pull up at any time and shop at a local store. And we might have to walk a block or two. But I don't want to tell you that. Let the committee look at the 3 different kinds, right? We need parking for employers and employees. We need parking for places for people that live downtown, and that number's growing. And we need parking for that are open in our streets so that they can come and shop and patronize our restaurants.
Thank you. Events. We're going to just touch really quick on that if you're okay with it.
Yeah.
I know I heard around the city was awarded $100,000 by Warren County for events in Glens Falls.
Yes.
Can you help us understand what the city plans to do with those funds?
Sure. What we did is I went to the County Board of Supervisors and I said, I believe that there are city events that could be grown and grow bed tax dollars in Warren County fairly easily. I had talked to the organizers of those events, and they said, if I could get some money to help you grow, would you be interested? They said, sure. And that was as far as it got. Then I went to the County Board of Supervisors, and I said, if you think it's a good idea, and you're not going to cut any funding from the organizations and what they're currently getting, if you give it to us, we'd like to invest. We'd also like to create a volunteer network, because I've seen these people running. We have 72 events right now on our calendar yearly that happen in our downtown not by us, by community groups. And so I think that they could use a volunteer a website to help people who volunteer at one and might want to volunteer at another. And so that's what we got. But what I also learned in this process is that we don't get the money. We don't get the money until we've spent the money. So we're now, like, this past week, I met with the Heritage, the Feeder Canal Alliance, and they're looking at what they might wanna do, and then we'll work together and see how they might wanna grow and not. And so if we don't spend it, then we don't spend it. If we do, we do. But it's not like we got $100,000 and now we're running back out to spend the money. It's not how OCTAX works.
Okay, great. I know you touched on the DRI project. I encourage everyone to go to the special, you had the March 5th and 6th. I'm making that up. And then
And they can also see, I mean, come and take a look before you leave tonight. It's absolutely amazing what's going on. And again, it wasn't my vision. It was just my responsibility to bring it across the finish line. And we're hoping for a ribbon cutting. We're trying to get the governor to come because she's using RDRI as a model for around the country, right? The $49 million, that's a state grant, that's private investment. There's actually several state grants, maybe 5 of them. And then there's 3.6 million is what the city's long-term bonding might be at this point. That's what's in the budget. $49 million to rehabilitate 3 new buildings, 88 apartments, 70 of them for low and moderate income people, right? That's an amazing thing. In a place that you wouldn't want to travel or walk through that parking lot at 2 in the morning years ago.
Thank you. I think that was our last clap. Is that what that meant? I mean, we have a reception. Please hang around. The mayor's going to be here along with your department heads, correct, to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for coming out and supporting this wonderful community. And we hope you hang around and ask more questions. Thank you.